Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be taking a look at some r/malicious compliance. Thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let's get started. You want to take my security deposit? Perhaps you should read your own contract. A few years ago I was looking for a place to live and I came across an interesting advertisement looking for property guardians. The idea behind property guardians is that disused buildings are far more secure if they are occupied. So owners of empty properties will allow people to live there temporarily for incredibly cheap prices. So the guardian gets to live in a usually quite interesting disused building incredibly cheaply. The owner makes a small additional bit of income and has someone keeping their eye on the place. This arrangement is usually done through a third-party guardian company who acts as the intermediary. This particular advert was for a pub that had recently closed. My interest piqued, so I went along to a viewing. The space was huge and they were only asking a few $100, all bills included, so I went for it, along with a group of other people. We all picked our rooms. I got the bar area, a huge room with ensuite ladies and gents toilets, a big fireplace and cozy pub decor. We also had full use of the sizable pub kitchen, beer cellar, dishwashing room, double garage, car park and a massive garden with a barbecue area. For the most part, it was a great gig. I got to live in a pub, have all the space I wanted, and as the building was due to be destroyed, we could pretty much do what we liked with the internals. I put up curtains and temporary walls and made it my cozy home for the next couple of years. Other guardians moved in and out over the months, but myself and a couple of others were there for the long term. Aside from the odd dodgy person coming and going, I had 2 of my tires slashed at one point, but that's another story. All was pretty cushy. The owner of the guardian company, and thus the person I paid my rent to, was a large red-faced man who was quite full of himself. He tended to be quite bossy and sometimes aggressive, but I stayed out of his way. As long as I paid my rent and didn't cause him trouble, he left me alone. All until the end of the tenancy. I had moved out, returned my keys, and I was awaiting the return of my security deposit. At some point, a car had been dumped on the property. I hadn't noticed because one of the previous guardians, who I will call Rob, had pushed it around to the back of the property and had been working on it. I just assumed it was his car. The first of the emails from the guardian company read, "The Volvo dumped in the car park was not reported to us and must be removed from the site. Rob has declined to take responsibility of the vehicle and has alleged it was reported to the police, and yet none of you have reported to us on such a serious issue. I would suggest that it be placed on the public highway and then the police will deal with whomever owns the vehicle." Wait, did you just incite us to commit fly tipping? I emailed back and said the car wasn't my responsibility and thus I won't be moving it. Things went back and forth like this for a while, with the owner insisting that we were all responsible. Emphasis here means it's important later. Stop arguing as I don't care, and if it's not gone then you will all be accountable on the issue. Rob was contacted and has said it's not his, and now the burden falls on all of you that knew about the car and failed to report it. At this point, I mentioned small claims court as an idle threat to see what would happen. You have failed to report an incident that is something that is detrimental to the property. You are in breach of the license for failing to do so. Happy to see you in court and explaining that you were put into the building to act as a security by occupation, and while there you failed to report the dumped car. Right, it's on. I pulled out the contract and went over it with a fine-tooth comb. At this point, another email came through. Dear all, please be aware that you were all under license at the property and not tenants and had no tenancy rights as is clearly stated in the license that you all agreed to and signed. Under the license, you act as security for the property and were responsible for reporting any incidents and also were responsible for keeping the property safe, secure, and as stated, any items left will be charged for removal. The items left were dumped outside and certainly were not there throughout your time on site and must have been placed there by one or more of you. This was accompanied by photographs of even more stuff that other guardians had left in the property, but I wasn't going to be responsible for any of their stuff. This guy thought he could bully us out of our money because we didn't have a legal tenancy and were therefore not covered by UK laws protecting tenants. I wasn't going down without a fight. We may not be covered by tenants' right, so everything would fall back to basic contract law. I found the interesting parts of the occupation license agreement that I had with the Guardian company. Damage security payment means the amount payable by the Guardian to cover the cost of any damages caused by the Guardian, but not just anybody else. And since this contract is between myself and the Guardian company with no jointly and severely liable clause, I can't be held responsible for anyone else's mess. Great, but there's more. This one is interesting. The Guardian company provides services to property owners to, among other benefits, secure premises against trespassers and protect such premises from damage. The Guardian company has agreed to provide such services to the owner in respect of the property. So we don't provide security. That's the responsibility of the Guardian company, which we're not a part of. But wait, there's more. The Guardian will not remove anything from the property other than things that he or she brought there. Boom! Gotcha! I fired back an email. Please see section 3.1 of the license agreement signed by myself and the Guardian company owner. It stipulates that you, the Guardian company, provide security, not us, the Guardians. Please also see section 10.1.10. Given that I did not bring either the car or the furniture onto the property, it would in fact be a breach of your own license agreement for me to remove it. In this case, I will be complying with your contract and thus will not remove the items that I did not bring on the property. Please return my security deposit within 3 working days or I will be forced to take legal action. Their response: at this point we are happy to see you in court and please do not contact us unless via your solicitor, as we will be charging for our time to deal with such matters. If you can demonstrate who is responsible for leaving the items for us to deal with, we will look at this. But, as stated previously, these items were not there previously and have dumped them outside. All of you failed to report the car. Sounds like he was shaken up a little and probably hoped I was bluffing. Unfortunately for him, I wasn't. I filed the court paper after 3 working days. He caved as soon as he received the court papers and realized that I wasn't bluffing. He repaid our deposits along with my court fees the very next day. Victory. Fine, then just quit. Okay. So when I was freshly out of high school, I hadn't decided on what I wanted to do with my life. So I got a job at a pizza place near where I lived. I've always been the type of person who would rather work than sit at home, and I don't have a ton of friends to hang out with. They started out having me just making the food deliveries once or twice a week, but that quickly turned into them calling me in daily about an hour after they opened because the managers didn't want to make the deliveries and they were the only ones working front of house. Like I mentioned previously, I didn't mind coming into work and would always say that it wasn't a problem. About 2 weeks into me working at the pizza shop, the owners insisted that I learn register because they were no longer willing to do it themselves during the week. Okay, sure, no problem. It's just more money for me. They continued training me in every aspect of running the physical business over the next month. Every once in a while, the owners would say they want to make me a manager so they can leave whenever they want. Great, I thought. As time went on, I would work anywhere between 60 to 80 hours per week because other employees would call out or not show and the owners didn't want to stick around to deal with it. They even trusted me to hire a server and a delivery driver/cashier. About 8 months into working there, running myself ragged for them and never getting so much as a thank you for everything I did for them, I decided to sit down with one of the owners and express the way I felt to them. Me: "Hey boss, I know you just keep saying you want to make me a manager. Is there any reason you haven't yet?" Boss: "Just haven't found the time or reason to train you for it yet." "What do you mean? I already know how to do everything from taking orders to ordering supplies when we're running low on something." "Yes, but it's not your place to do all those things yet." "What do you mean? You're not a manager. You should not be doing manager tasks." "Alright, that's how you wanna play it? Then consider it done." For the next 2 weeks I didn't do anything aside from what they hired me to do. Make deliveries, and only on my scheduled days. This went on for about 2 days and really upset the owners, because now at least one of them had to be there at all times to make sure everything else was getting done. Eventually, Boss 1 called me into his back office to talk. Boss 1: "Cranky, what has gotten into you?" "What do you mean? You know you need to put in orders for supplies, yet we're running out of flour and out soda syrup and no orders have been placed." "I'm sorry, boss, but you told me that I'm not a manager and I shouldn't be acting like one, so I stopped." "Stop being a child, Cranky. You know your responsibilities here and you need to do your job." "I am doing my job and only my job. If you want to make me a manager, I'll be happy to do those things." "You really think I'm going to make you a manager after this? If I'm not a manager, then I won't do a manager's job." "Fine, then just quit. You need to get over yourself." "Okay, I quit. As of right now, I'm done." "Fine." So I left. I was scheduled to work all week, which meant that they were out of basically a manager. I ended up getting a call the following afternoon from Boss 1 demanding to know why I was so late for work. But I just reminded him that I no longer work there. Now I was and still am very close friends with some old co-workers and heard all the drama as it unfolded. Turns out most of the employees ended up refusing to work because the owners had to be there full time and now they were awful. In my time working there, I hired about 5 people and all 5 left because I wasn't there to play manager anymore. They ended up closing about 6 months after I left because they couldn't get anyone to stay longer than about 2 weeks. You don't want to switch seats? Okay. My boyfriend and I went on the same flight, but he had mistakenly booked his seat right in front of me. A nice flight attendant noticed that we were together and she told us that the plane wouldn't be full, so she'd inform us if 2 adjacent seats would become available. It was a small plane and had 2 seats on each side of the aisle. While my boyfriend was loading our baggage in the overhead bin, a woman sat on the window seat of his row. I thought it might be a good chance to sit together. I mustered up all the courage I had in me and started talking to her. "Hello ma'am, will it be alright if you switch seats with—" "No, I don't want to switch seats. I want my window seat," she said haughtily and proceeded to stare out the window. This discouraged me because I'm wary of confrontations. I decided to shut up. However, the flight attendant from before was behind us and made way to the woman. "Good morning, ma'am. This lady asking—" "I don't want to switch seats. I booked a seat and I want my reserved seat." She angrily announced this without even looking away from the window. The attendant, still cheerful, said, "Of course, ma'am. You have the right to your reserved seat. May I please see your boarding pass?" The woman crisply presented her boarding pass. "Okay, ma'am. You may proceed to 19C, which is this seat," the FA explained, pointing to the aisle seat. The woman was stunned, mouth moving inaudibly. She even looked frantically around for the seat number, then at her pass. But, as expected, the FA was right. After a few seconds, she hastily and violently, there was a lot of unnecessary sound of hitting stuff, moved to 19C. My boyfriend sat beside her on the window seat, of course. She spent the next boarding minutes just bowing her embarrassed head down the phone. The FA gave me a devilishly knowing smile and I whispered a thank you. When all the passengers had boarded, she moved to an aisle seat way ahead of us. There were actually 3 window seats near us, but I guess she was too ashamed to take them. My boyfriend moved to the seat beside me. If she just pressed pause on her arrogant attitude and tried to listen to me or the FA, she would be sitting on my window seat. I had a similar experience. Booked a window seat, arrived and there was a woman sitting in it. Politely asked her to move and she went off on me. Full Karen, the works. I'm a conflict avoider and it was a short enough flight that I didn't care, so I just sat in the aisle. The flight attendants, however, did seem to care. The minute I sat in the aisle, the flight attendant came over and asked for our tickets, then informed the woman with more than a little glee in her voice, so I wonder if she hadn't been rude to them before, that she was in the wrong seat and would have to move. The woman objected. The flight attendant patronizingly explained alphabetical order to her. Don't know what the woman did to upset them, but damn, they took her down hard. She moved instantly and I got my window seat. Okay, that's about it for today. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Maybe subscribe, maybe like. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.